Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Super excited for today's episode. First, I got my buddy, John Medina, here with us. But we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Something we talk about a lot in our Investor Fuel Mastermind is having the right people to help build your business, having the right team in place. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we kind of go one way or the other. We try to do everything ourselves because we're cheap. As real estate investors, we're just cheap. Or you get to a point where you realize, man, I didn't want a job. I want a business. And for me to have a business, I have to have the right team. That's what we're going to talk about today. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, good to have you on, buddy. You've been a part of the group for about 9 months now, maybe?
Yeah, I've been to 3 meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always appreciate the insights and the conversation we have with you and you sharing your experience. And so I'm really excited to talk. I know you've been going through this yourself, like building your team out, finding the right people, the right seats, and all the stuff we're going to talk about today and why that's critical. Before we jump into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you found your way to real estate investing?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I was kind of an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I live here in Los Angeles, in the port of Los Angeles. I didn't realize this until a couple of months ago. I thought about it. I used to work on a fishing boat when I was a kid. I used to get on for free when I was like 13, and they let me on for free. I'd catch fish, and then I'd get to clean the boat afterwards. And then when I was done at the end of the day, I was like I had all these fish. If we caught them, I'd go up to the parking lot and I'd sell them. So I started kind of my negotiation skills at a young age.
Yeah, there you go.
Fish and making some money. And then when I had the money, I had enough money to go on the next day. Then I had to bug my parents for money. So I kind of started at a young age with kind of buying and selling stuff, Then in high school, I got into Volkswagens, and I used to buy Volkswagens. I used to flip cars too, right? So at a young age, I kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. So started out with that, and then when I was about 19, I got into the plumbing world, and I was a plumber for about 25 years. So I had my own business for about 25 years. Well, I was a plumber for 30 years, and I basically had my own business for 25 years. So I started out pretty young. I just learned a little bit about the trade and went on my own and figured it out. So
there were about 5 years in there where you worked for somebody else. Other than that, everything has been your own gig.
Exactly. I mainly I just basically just figured if I do 5 years working for someone, I could figure out this. And I was pretty good at plumbing. It came naturally to me. So anyways, I did that for about 25 years, and I was able to get some good, especially in the last 5 years, I was able to get some pretty good jobs. And I had, it was a small company, but I was able to sock away some money. I had some good jobs, and I just wanted to buy some real estate. I just always heard it was a good investment. Rentals, especially in our town, a lot of people have rentals, and it was to be something I wanted to do to kind of maximize the money I had in the bank. I just didn't want to buy one. I would buy as many as possible. So I started studying, how could I buy as much as possible in real estate and houses for the amount of money I had. And next thing you know, I just started studying, found stuff online, and then I kind of in 2009, I went to the Rich Dad class, right, where you go and for 3 days you sit in a room and they basically give you all this information. Well, wow, I had so much information, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want to pay for their expensive classes. It wasn't like I met you right from the beginning, where you're a straight shooter. Especially with your students, you give them value. I feel it's reasonably priced, and you basically learn from you guys, and you kind of on your way. Well, it was really expensive to buy in, and they were so vague. It was all over the place on what you could do. So I didn't do anything for 3 years. I just kind of kept studying. And my son was born at that time, and I had a lot of time at home, and my wife was basically, "What are you doing? Why are you reading all the time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to figure this real estate thing out." So anyways, fast forward to 2012, I needed to take some action. The market was good. I had that money still sitting there. I was like, man, I gotta basically do something. So I took a boot camp with a guy named Bruce Norris down in Riverside. He's a California guy.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome guy. And took a boot camp like at the beginning of 2012, and still scared, right? I didn't do anything. I needed to take another one of these boot camps. So went back to the boot camp with Bruce again, and I was like, after like the first day, I'm like, why am I here? You just need to take action. You got money in the bank, you got nothing to lose, the market's good, short sales were happening, just go for it, So that's kind of how I started in 2012. I bought my first rental, so to speak, and with the construction background I have, I rehabbed it and refinanced out of it and kept one, and I just kind of was on my way, and I bought 2 or 3 more thinking I was going to keep them as rentals like I originally planned. Well, then I thought, hey, this is pretty easy. At least I thought so at the time. I was like, I might as well sell these things and make some money. Well, I did that, and I liked it so much, I transitioned from my plumbing business, and at the end of 2013, I went full time in 2014.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
and with rentals stuff too, it's hard. You're just outside of LA there. It's harder to keep houses as rentals when you could get a big payday today, or they tend to not cash flow as well as they would in Midwestern markets and other things like that, or at least appear to on paper. And so it's hard to you're in a type of market where you tend to do lower volume, but the deals are bigger, right? And so than other parts of the country, and so it's hard to forego those paydays. Yeah,
but looking back, anybody that wants to get into buy old stuff, the rates were low, I can get ahead of W-2. It was,
right.
Hindsight being 2020, I should have kept those things in.
Sure.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm glad where I'm at, and it all works out.
So we're going to talk about today, like your experience of kind of moving from really a one-man band into a team that's growing, a business that's growing. And, one of the things we talked about up front is this psychology, like as real estate investors, everything we do is at a discount, right? We try to buy houses at a deep discount. We try to get cheap money. We try to get cheap labor. Like we do all this stuff where we're constantly negotiating the price down. And then sometimes when you have your team, you're like, well, I don't want to pay for that person. I'll just do it. Or I can't afford that person. And we look at people sometimes that could come into the business and help us as an expense more so than an investment. And you probably had some of those same thoughts early on before you kind of got your mind a little bit right. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. Because I remember when I first started, it was like, I made my own postcards, and I kind of had one person. Like I had Patricia was really good at multitasking. She's really good. She could do anything. So it was like really good. I had her doing a lot of different things. And, at the volume of postcards I was sending out and the system that I learned to send them out from another guy I took a class with in Orange County, it was like, just send these out and see what happens. Well, 2013, from I think about 14 is when I started mailing. It was pretty easy. I just made up these little postcards, and they were on an orange piece of paper. I put a stamp on them. I had a little team going. Patricia had some nieces and nephews that would put the stamps on, and we had this little system going, and go to 2 different printers to save money, like you're saying. You're trying to save money, but you just went and put those things in the mailbox. Next thing you know, the phone started ringing.
Yep.
So I think I invested like $8,000 that year, and I got 4 deals with high margins, So it was really, man, this is simple. I mean, I didn't have to bid a job. I didn't have to have a crew of plumbers. I didn't have to deal with a bunch of, crazy construction people, so to speak. So yeah, I learned that. It was like, just go out there and take action and do it. But, we know how that goes.
Yeah. So as your business starts to grow, talk about when you started, because I know you have a larger team now, and you've gone through some changes over the past year or so. Talk a little bit about, that realization that like I can't grow as fast as I want to, and I can't get any of my life back if I'm doing everything. Talk about kind of that transition to
that was
people in place.
Well, that was a big one, because I think it was like, it was around this time in 2016, like kind of going like heading towards the fall, and I met my partner. I do have a partner, Ricky Magana, who's great. He's a great guy, and I met him at a open house just up the street on a Saturday. I was driving home. This guy. And I recognized his name because I knew he was an up-and-coming real estate agent, and because he has a license. Went by an open house and started talking to him, and then we just started kind of like hit it off, and slowly but surely I realized there was going to be a need for someone like Ricky, because I couldn't do everything. So that was kind of the first thing I did. We kind of it was kind of good because he was a new agent, and I had these rehabs I was going to sell. So I just let Ricky, it was a good way for him to make some money right off the beginning, out of the gate, and get to know each other, because he was listing my properties. So it was a win-win for everybody, right? It was a good way to get introduced to each other, but also for him to get a taste of making some money too, because he was new. So it worked out real good, and he did a great job. So fast forward to I think it was like March of 17, we became partners officially, right? And then we just started at the beginning. Ricky, I was doing all the sales and the rehab, and Ricky he's a process guy. He knows how to use Upwork real well. He has a gym here in town that he was really good at outsourcing. So he was doing a lot of the outsourcing and trying to build things through outsourcing. But I was still running around with my head cut off. I'm doing the rehabs. I'm meeting with people, going through the pains of having the wrong people, like, as you know, like in the wrong seats, so to speak.
Yeah.
And trying to make one person do 3 things that they're probably only good at one. But
that happens. That happens all the time. And I think as a small business, here's the truth. I've been saying this for years. I always say the same line: as a small business, I can't afford to have redundancy. I don't have like backups to my people because my business isn't that big. I can't afford to have like, if my main office manager leaves, well, I've got the assistant office manager right behind them to step in. Like, that doesn't usually work that way for us, right? We have 1 or 2 acquisitions people maybe, and like we need them. So if one leaves, it's like as the owner, a lot of times you're like, well, crap, I got to step in and do it, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
Somebody's out of the office sick today, something. It's like, I got to jump in. I got to do what I got to do, and there, it's hard to get away from that entirely. But some of it is back to what you just said. I think it's having the right people in the right seats, right? And so let's talk about that a little. Let's talk about first the right seats, because I think early on for me, and I still struggle with it sometimes, is I just like find somebody, I really like them, I want to find a place for them. Like, well, can you do these like 5 things? And they're like, pretty good at these. I'm like, well, I just need you to do these things too. It's just like, we do that all the time. Like, we find somebody that we're like, and truth is we often find people like when we need them like yesterday, so sometimes you're like, I don't know if they're really the right fit, but man, they're going to work for me now. It has to work. But anyway, let's talk, before we get to right people, let's talk about right seats, like kind of defining those roles of what somebody does, so that they can focus on what they do well, and for a business, they can focus on what we need for our business. So let's talk about the right seats first.
Right, and that's kind of something that Ricky and I did right away. We bought the traction book, the EOS model, and probably, looking back, we probably couldn't afford it. I'm a little bit different. I throw monies at things. My wife just came. She'll tell you, she's sitting over there. But it's funny how like I want something so bad, I'll invest, right? So I'm looking at it as like an investment. So right away, Ricky and I got an EOS trainer. We bought the book, and we're like, you got to go away to a hotel or do something. Well, I'll just hire a guy, right? So this guy's probably going like, man, there's only 2 of you. What do you of course, he worked with us, and we set out right from the beginning with went through all the EOS model and having the mission statement and the 4 values. And so we established that foundation right from the beginning. And then we got to the seats, and I think, with having the right people in the right seat, so to speak, we defined what everybody was supposed to do. But we were in all the seats, where we had one person answering the phone. So seats would be like, now we call it the inbound lead specialist, that some people might call a lead manager. It was, and they were supposed to answer the phone and delegate the leads out to people. And I was in the sales position, but I was in the rehab position too, because I was rehabbing the properties. Ricky at the beginning was kind of like just trying to get stuff set up so we could scale. And he was in operations heavily, just creating. But it's funny, we were creating a lot of operations for things that are working now. But at the time, we were really trying to like get everything set up, and it kind of glad we got it set up because it came later, But we were doing the work up front, and then it was just crazy. We started scaling our marketing, but we didn't have the people in place to handle it.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden you're spending all this money on pay-per-click and mail, and all this stuff's going out. And I was kind of always getting the low-hanging fruit. I go out and meet with people and get a deal, but I wasn't that great at following up. It was like, if I close you on the first deal, I'd come back with a contract. I would call you for a couple of weeks because I knew you were hot, but like the 6-month call down the line, I wasn't making. And I was honest with myself. It just wasn't something that was in my personality type, right? Which we can get to. It's like, so basically we had the seats set up, but I think we had the wrong people in the wrong seats.
Yeah. And sometimes some of those people in those seats are you, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
You ever seen that org chart? Like Gary has shown this before, Gary Harper. Yeah. It's like you have this org chart with all these boxes, like marketing, sales, finance, operations, all this stuff. And CEO, and it's like you. It's like your name is on all of them, right? That's how it starts for everybody.
Yeah, and it does, and it's like, and then like with me, I always think I'm going to do everything myself, right? So you're always in there trying to make it better, and I don't think there is better. Sometimes you just have to take action and move forward,
No doubt.
It's just interesting. So yeah, we were all over that. In EOS, it's the accountability chart. We were in just about every seat, And then we had a girl working here that was basically, she was the accountant. She answered the phone. And then we were trying to scale things, and then every day I would be changing my mind because it just wouldn't work. You thought it was a good idea and it wasn't. Then you realize, oh man, I hired the wrong person for the wrong job. Now what do? You got to make some difficult decisions. So what we did is to kind of fast forward into how we made everything work. Probably towards the end of like last year, about this time, it was about this. I think it was like around, it was around August, so we're in September. It's like Ricky and I were together. Ricky ended up getting married last year, right? It was one of those things. He was getting married. My wife and I remodeled this big house that we were living in. I was involved with that because I needed to move my family. And Ricky was getting married. So hey man, let's just slow this thing down a little bit. We're all over the place. So go get married. You know, do your thing. Go on your honeymoon. When you get back, we're gonna think about what we're doing. Let's try to go smaller and more focused instead of trying to be bigger and all over the place, right? So we kind of just start cutting back on the marketing and start doing kind of went more on RDM because it was easy to do and it was a low cost of entry, so to speak. So we just and the guy that we had working for us in the lead manager, inbound lead specialist seat was just good enough to get by. You know, he was like he was just good enough to get you a deal every now and then. He wasn't like he wasn't a rock star like we have now, right? Okay. So basically we just kind of slowed it down, got some houses, rehabbed them, made some money. We had a lot of debt because we were all over the place. We paid off all our debt at the end of the year, and we said, okay, now moving into 2019, what we want to do. I was like, well, Ricky, I think we should join another mastermind because we need focus and we need to really get this stuff laser focused. And if we want to start texting and doing these different meetings of marketing, we should probably get with a mastermind that'll basically accelerate us and answer all the little questions we have instead of trying to figure it out on our own. Let's get with a group of guys that's because we know there's power in there and they'll help us get where we want to go. So come February, we joined your group, which is probably one of the best decisions we ever made. You guys are awesome. You guys, it's a great family, like you call it. Mike Stenson, you guys we're welcoming. You're really accessible. You're in the groups, helping everybody achieve their goals. And you guys are big on accountability and writing your goals down. So in the February meeting, after seeing Sean, Sean Whalen, it was like, man, I gotta get these core, I gotta get the 4 things going again. Like the what do you call it? The core 4, the process. I left there with that in mind, and we just started working on this, on this business, to grow this business with the intention of using our core values and our mission and what we really want to be as a company to grow this thing, and we established all that stuff a couple of years ago. So it was really easy to get back into it. And we wanted to hire people that believed in what we were doing, right? So as we started moving forward, I think the first 3 months with you, I kind of, it was from Salt Lake City, kind of, I think, Dallas. And that time I kind of just went through the company and started redoing our website and started really focusing on wanting to get the leads coming in. But I wasn't ready yet because we didn't have the right team in place. The guy we had that was answering the phones was just good enough at the time, right? So we ended up making some decisions after the second. We set some goals coming out of Salt Lake City that we wanted to do 6 deals coming out of the meeting, right? And I told Rick, we can't do 6 deals with our structure right now. So back to the investment thing, we went ahead and said, okay, we're going to start sending more mail. We're going to start scaling our marketing up, but we started thinking about the investment with our team. So what we did is we basically, we brought on a VA from Rocket Station, which actually was through Christina. Christina Kraus has that, what does she call it? It's they basically call it like a lead manager. So they have a company that you can hire. So we brought in Nino to be the lead manager. And then Nino's job as the lead manager to sit in that seat is basically just to distribute the leads. And we thought at first we could have him answer the phone, right? But really his main job is just to watch the leads and figure out where to go and hold everybody accountable, right? So Nino started listening to the phone calls. He's like, wow, the other guy that was answering the phone wasn't doing his job, because now Nino's managing me, he's managing Ricky in sales, he's managing this guy. So we made a decision, let's get another VA to answer the phone. And what was key about that is that we realized that when we hired Nino, we gave him the disc test, and we really made sure that he was the type of guy that was going to be able to handle managing everybody.
Yeah.
Which we really
talk about that a little bit more for folks that don't know. That the disc has a disc profile. It's a personality profile to find whether somebody is the right fit. And I'd like to have a little discussion here because around the right people we talked about. Because in the past, I was just like, there was this point. What was it, like 2.5 years ago or something? I've been in business for 11.5 years, where my wife Lindsay came in and she read a book. I'm going to forget what it's called right now, but we learned about how to interview, she was reading about how to interview, and she's like, Mike, we've been doing it wrong the whole time. And me, I'm like a sales guy. So I'm always trying to sell people on how great the opportunity is,
Right.
instead of like just shutting up and letting them sell me on why they should come work for me. You know,
Yeah, it's key. That is key.
I'm sure, knowing you, I know you probably had some problems with that. Like, this is how awesome we're flipping houses. It's like HGTV. You like those shows? You love it here. You know, it's like, they're just like, yeah, I like those shows, but they might suck, right?
Right, and then you're going off what they tell you. And what's so good about this DISC profile, I think they changed it a little bit from what it was like maybe even.
They changed it recently, yeah.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you're going to be giving someone a test, and they're going to answer these questions that at the time they're just asking you 50 random questions. But out of those 50 random questions, they're specific to going to put you in a personality type, what you're good at. The D is the D and the I and the S and the C. DISC stands for that acronym stands for different categories that you will be in, and you can be a DI, or I'm not that great at. A guy like Gary would really know how to read this.
Sure.
You need to be, but by giving somebody like Nino, we gave him that test, and it was like, wow, this guy could actually, he fits that. His personality fits the role for what we need. We're not going to be forcing him. Like, I wouldn't be good at that job. I'm not good at taking notes and being really specific like that. I'd be horrible. So by hiring me, I'd probably have to fake my way into it. I wouldn't be natural at the job. And then I would be really, really fighting every day to come here, which means I wouldn't want to be here. I don't like my job. I'm gonna drift away. I'm not gonna catch the conversation. So what we found with Nino, and he's doing a great job, is that we basically, his job is just to basically take notes and facilitates where the leads go, right? So that's what we have him doing. But let's fast forward. We have her name's Kat. She answers the phone, right? But Kat, we gave her the test, and her DISC test was perfect for someone that can talk like me, and basically, but not take notes. So you don't really want Kat taking a doing an intake. So the phone rings and Kat answers the call. Thank you for calling. John Medina buys houses. And, oh, what's your name? Mike. You hear all this in the background, right? Well,
right.
Getting somebody that just asking a bunch of questions that might not even mean too much, bedroom, bathrooms. You're just trying to get in rapport with that person. But at the end of the day, you're asking all these questions that don't, things that you can look up online. You really want her to have a conversation about empathy. What can we use from this conversation for us to basically go out there and know a lot about them to buy their house? Because
where's the pain at?
Yeah, it's a person, and if you could people want to do business with people they like, and if you know their story or their situation, you're going to be able to probably get that deal a lot better than someone going out there that doesn't know anything about them, right? So basically, the phone rings, Kat answers the phone, we tell them it's being recorded. She has a free-flowing conversation with them. Right, it's recorded. It goes over to Nino. He's the lead manager, and he transcribes all the notes. Puts everything that happened in that conversation in Podio. Right.
Yeah.
And then now Ricky has an appointment. Say Ricky can read all that or listen to the call, and we're all making notes about these people. We're trying to get their stories so that we can build rapport with them. And actually, we like people. We want to do good business with people. So it's helping us hopefully solve a situation that they're in.
Yeah, you're the first person I've heard use that model, and I really like it. What happens is, back to the right people in the right seats. What tends to happen is, if you think of that administrative role, that front end role, we call them admin, office coordinator, office manager, lead intake. There's a million names you could use. The truth is you want somebody that you often want two traits that is not present in most people, like, together. Somebody that is bubbly on the phone, like, can listen, be a great listener, carry the conversation, ask good questions, and the detail-oriented person. Because more often than not, that detail-oriented person is a little more introverted and not necessarily bubbly on the phone, right? They're not as warm of a voice. I'm not saying that if you're an introvert, it's bad. It's just you're kind of more like, we'll get to the point. I've got some notes to take, right? Instead of like, let's just have a conversation and let's just kind of see where things go. But then you have somebody else that's kind of listening to those calls afterwards and saying, let me grab the information I need. I like that.
And it's good. Then Ricky can, and Ricky's doing a great job as a sales guy. So he's able to take those notes now. And then, we always, before you go on the appointment, you call him, right? And you give him, it's all John Martinez stuff. You're going to give him so everybody's using the advanced agreement. All of us that know John, we talk about that on our meetings a lot. Everybody's getting an advanced agreement, right? So it's like Ricky's kind of just going over this information and what to expect for the appointment. And he's kind of get more notes, and then he could record that call, and then Nino can go back and transcribe that. But you think about it in a 6-month period, because we all know the keys in the follow-up. You're going to have a story about these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's back to what we talked about, this investment in your team and in your company, because everybody's any business, it's like get rich quick type of thing. That's a bad mentality to have for me, at least. I just haven't ever been able to find that. I
Yeah.
don't.
No, me either.
Yeah, I just don't know anything about that. I've always had to grind it out and work hard. It's just always, and I believe in that, and I'm fine with it because I think, I'll go the extra mile and work a lot harder than most people because I'm going to get what I want, right? And it might take me a while to get there. It's not usually a straight line, but I
No,
like the
it's never.
fact that I'm investing in these people, and they're good people. They come to work every day. And then we have meetings every day. We have our big meeting on Monday, but then we talk to them every day. At 9:30, we have what we call a daily huddle. And we just talk for about 10 minutes. We talk about what happened yesterday. If there's anything we need to know about, was there any tech issues or do we need to, is there something we need to deal with right now? Because if you wait till next Monday, you're never going to deal with it. It just gets pushed to the side, right? So that's a kind of a big thing too, to keep the continuity within the group, right? So that's what I've learned. It's like, and then we have the right people like in the right seats. So Kat is really made to talk on the phone. She has that personality. She's doing a great job. Nino's good at transcribing the notes. Nino can talk on the phone if he had to, but it's not really something that we just don't want to cross over is what it is. We want to keep everybody in their seat. And then Ricky's just going on sales calls and following up with people, which we've never done that before at the extent that he's doing it. So he's doing a great job. And what's happening at the end of that, since we did all this to get to the point, we got 6 deals by the next meeting that we wanted to have with you.
That's awesome.
So it was awesome. It kind of all came to fruition. So
yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think having the right people in the right seats. I mean, it's amazing how much you just feel better as a business owner because shit's getting taken care of, and you're not like a whole bunch of stuff's probably falling through the cracks. The people are happier because they're doing what their superpower is. They're like good at that, right? I mean, the people, if they're doing the job that they're good at, they like it more, they love it more, right?
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, I can go to 10 different places today, which since we're rehabbing and doing all these different activities that drive the business, marketing, I'm kind of looking at all that stuff. It's just good to know that I have people answering the phone because if you don't answer the phone correctly, you're out of business, right? And here it's anywhere from $400 to $800 a lead. I mean, it's expensive here in LA. California. You have a bigger piece of the pie down the road, right? I think it's all relative to what you guys do in Dallas or we know from our other investors. It's like it costs you $3,200 to get a deal and you might make a certain amount. Well, here it costs us $8,000 to get a deal, but we make a bigger piece. So it's all relevant, but
sure.
What's so great about like Investor Fuel is everybody's keeps doing. We all have different markets, but the process is the same. The process is the same. It doesn't change from market to market, So which is great. So so that I'm kind of just like free to do what I feel I need to do. I don't really. I'm kind of putting all the fires. If the marketing's off, I really dive into the marketing. So I'll stay on that till I figure it out, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Then my wife is really good at for the rehab. She took a design class, she was good before, but now she has took a 12-week course, and she's really good at that. So she's dealing with all the colors and all the stuff, and she does a great job. So we're kind of working like she's here right now. She works about 20 hours a week, and I don't have to deal with. I'm horrible. I don't want to deal with that, right? But she goes to Home Depot and
off-white, just off-white, everything off-white.
Yeah. She'll give me. Don't let her come in here. But anyway, she buys all the accessories and stuff for the house to give it that touch. That the last 2 houses that we put on the market, we didn't even put a sign in front because I know agents. They came and gave us like full price offers. So I was wondering if the house is even going to appraise for $517, and it did no problem. The other one sold for I think it's $509. Ricky didn't even put a sign in front because he's an agent, right? So that goes to show you that you got a good product, right? People will pay more for it. And I think the other agent was thinking, this thing will never. Let's give them a high price and won't appraise, and then we got to deal with that. It never happened. We got what we wanted, and I'm not greedy. I'll take what I right off the bat. I don't. Yeah. Out there. So anyways,
awesome. So for those of you listening, I think the lesson here is like lay out your seats. What are the roles before there's even faces on them? I mean, if you already have people in some of those roles, it's almost like you just have to set them aside and say, if I was building this from scratch, what would it look like? What would my hierarchy look like? What's a job description for that? What is the compensation for that role? Like, just lay that all out, because it gets mucked up when you have people here, or you're like, well, I got to keep my brother busy, so he's going to be, when you start to put faces on stuff, you start to not be true to the structure that you need in your business. And
and that's what's key, because we have that accountability chart, and it's like, Yeah, you're right. I mean, you could basically, it's not a person's name. It's like you said, it's a seat, and it's inbound lead specialist. So theoretically, if someone's sick or they go away, you can plug another person in it. And I think that's key too, when you have a job description. This is your job description. Something changes, let's talk about it. We could change the job description if you feel there's a better way. But most of the time, that job description, we got it kind of dialed in, and we want people to be free to do, improvise if they need to do something a little different. But we don't want to, like we had that happen last week. We had a little meeting and things got changed around. I didn't know about it. No, let's have a meeting and get it back to where it needs to be, right? Because everybody's staying in their lane, so to speak, which is awesome.
So, you've talked about it a couple of times here, John, but I was curious if you would mind sharing just an outside view of maybe a little testimonial on Investor Fuel. I know you've been in some other masterminds before, just your experience in Investor Fuel in just, I guess, the past 9 months.
Wow. It's been incredible because, and as you know, I won't mention names. I was in a couple other groups, and I like, the group the group is there to help you. And the other group was great too. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff from being in these masterminds. And the stuff I learned in the other ones kind of prepared me to come to you guys and really focus even more, right? Because you guys, what I like about you, first of all, you're awesome. You're always in there helping people. All the posts get answered either with you or Stinson. We'll make comments. You guys are involved with everything. But the greatest thing is we have a great family, a great group of people that want to help you and kind of give you insight on if you need help with texting 2 or 3 people, and there's 2 or 3 different platforms you could use. But people are saying, hey, I got this process. Try this, or, everybody's just kind of just sharing the love, so to speak, which is awesome to kind of like make you expedite the process so that you can basically get there faster. The end goal is we all want deals, right? Without reinventing the wheel. So I think that's been helpful. And the accountability part, like when I left Dallas and I said I wanted to get 6 deals, I didn't want to go back to San Diego, 9, we had to get that going. And Rick and I were really we were a little bit behind at the beginning because our process wasn't there yet. But man, every week we're looking at this whiteboard I had over here, and we're like, man, we got to get that 6. We got to get that 6. We got to get that 6. And we showed up with 5, and then we ended up leaving on that Wednesday, or we're done with the meeting, and we got the 6th one. So it's just a great group of guys. I mean, I know, like back to the investment thing, and to me, it's just a no-brainer. I think it's reasonable, it's affordable, it's helped us grow and get focused a ton. But a lot of people are going to think that, not a lot of people, but some people might think like, hey, you know what? Where's the value in here? It pays for itself. It really does. And I recommend you guys 100%. Especially if you're just starting out, you might think like, wow, I can't even be involved with something like this. I don't have anything to offer. Believe me, you have something to offer, and you will learn stuff to offer even more. There's just a lot of it's just a great family. So I appreciate you guys a ton.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate that. So, John, thanks for sharing some great knowledge here today. I think, we all struggle with this because what happens for a lot of real estate investors is they leave their job or leave their other business or whatever, and you're like, I want to go be a real estate investor. And some people have a decent level of success, maybe making more money than they made in the past or making more than they need to live on or whatever. But often we find ourselves and we're still just in a job, right? We're like, we're the guy or the gal, like we've got to be there all the time. And we don't necessarily have the time freedom that we want, right? And so I think we all know that now. We've had this kind of discussion during this show, is you got to, it's kind of a cheesy cliche that I use. You can't have the dream without a good team, right? So you've got to have people in place that allow you to get freed up from the stuff that you're not good at or don't like doing, or both. And it allows you to focus on whatever your superpower is, which is clearing obstacles and growing, maybe raising money or finding more deals, whatever it might be, like things that are more strategic to your business, right? So for those of you who listen right now, you've got to take some of the lessons we learned here, lay out what your team should look like, and start trying to find the people that fit those seats the best. Right, John?
Yeah, you nailed it 100%. And have patience. No, it's not going to happen. And then, I guess in closing here, and make sure you have the money to do it, right? Because everybody's just like, I made that mistake too. You basically just throw money at something, and then you mail for a month, and you're like, oh, well, wait a minute, it was a rough month. Where's your cash flow, right? So right. Make sure you have enough to go 6 months, right? I mean, we've all made that mistake. It's like you want something so bad, you're just throwing stuff at and see if it sticks, right? So I think once we stop doing that, and like you said, think of the long run. Right, so I always say we're marathoners, we're not sprinters, right?
Yeah.
Let's have that mentality. And hey, man, you're gonna get a cramp halfway through the. Yeah, there's a lot of things happen during a marathon, right? So but know that there's a finish line, and you're gonna someday get there.
Yep. Awesome.
And it's great that you guys are really good at Investor Fuel is really good at supporting you, and it's great because sometimes you'll tell people like, hey, don't come to a meeting if you're having problems. Come when you're having problems because we want to help you. So we're all trying to get where we want to go, but we all want to support each other, and that's what you get with Investor Fuel, and you're awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you, John. So if folks wanted to reach out to you or get in touch with you somehow, where do they go to learn more?
Yeah, you can go to let's see, I have a website, johnmedinabuysHouses.com. We're here in Los Angeles. I'm on Facebook. You could hit me up, John Medina. I guess I'm through Messenger, or you could email me at john@johnmedinabuysHouses.com. So if you're in the LA area and you want to network or looking to get started, I mean, we have people coming in all the time that have questions, and we're here. We're trying to help you and grow our team too. So we might be another roster through that we want to work with.
So if folks were to go to funkyjohnmedina.com, could they find you or?
They might. It's funny. I had one.
That's an inside joke for those of you that are listening.
Let's see if we can get this going. I have this queued up. No, my wife's gonna die over there when she hears that. Yeah.
But hey, man, appreciate you a ton. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate everything, and thanks for all the you and your team and all the help you've given us.
Of course, my friend. Always excited to see you continue to grow your business and have some success. So, everybody, hey, thanks for joining us today. Watching this episode, learning how to build your team, grow your team, put the right people in the right seats. Very, very important information for really all entrepreneurs, but especially us as real estate investors, because we're cheap and we sometimes take shortcuts and we end up just cutting our own throat in the process sometimes. So appreciate you joining us. If you've been watching, if this is the first show you've watched, thanks for joining us. But if you've been watching us for a while and you haven't subscribed yet on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere where you can watch or listen to us, we'd appreciate you subscribing and following along. And of course, you can find all of our episodes on investorfuel.com. Appreciate you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.